Former DA Midvaal Mayor Bongani Baloyi has joined ActionSA. Party President Herman Mashaba made the announcement in Sandton today. Newzroom Afrika's Philane Phakadi has the details.
Herman Mashaba is on Project 2024, one to remove the ANC from power at the general elections. To boost those chances in Gauteng, he already has a name for the premier candidate, one Bongani Baloyi, who had 7 clean audits at Midvaal during his 10-year tenure as mayor.
Bongani Baloyi is the perfect example of what we seek as ActionSA.
After the mass exodus of black leaders from the Democratic Alliance, Mmusi Maimane as leader, Herman Mashaba as mayor in Johannesburg, John Moody as chair in Gauteng, Abel Tau from the DA in Tshwane, the question has to be asked, have you been purged, Mr. Baloyi?
I don't have the title deed of the Democratic Alliance. My father did not start it. So I exercise my freedom of association.
The year-old ActionSA already has some challenges. The party's KZN leader, Makhosi Khoza, resigned from the position of provincial chair, but still serves as a councillor. Mashaba plans to take action against her.
I am shocked by some of the statements made. At the moment, she's serving as a councillor in eThekwini municipality. But obviously, to be fair with you, and I've said to the media, I've laid a complaint with our disciplinary committee.
Those who have been protesting against ActionSA have been accusing Herman Mashaba of playing favorites when he selected proportional representation candidates. Now, many of those protesters have been expelled. Herman Mashaba says he would not be drawn to entertain people looking to gain in monetary value from the party, but fails to work for it in principle. For Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405, I'm Philane Phakadi in Sandton, Johannesburg.
Well, staying then with the news of the former Midvaal mayor's move to join ActionSA, that is, Bongani Baloyi joins us in studio. Bongani, you were very sneaky. Very, very sneaky. When you left the DA, you were very cryptic. No. Of course, at the time, it was said that you were leaving politics completely. And you played along. You didn't say, no, I'm not leaving politics. Expect an announcement soon.
No, but I did clarify that part, that I've not retired from politics. I'm still a very young man to retire from politics. That's in my blood. It's what I enjoy, and I find it quite meaningful. So I wasn't very sneaky about it. I was quite clear that I'm leaving the Democratic Alliance, pursuing other opportunities, and those opportunities happen to be in the private sector, and also triggered by the announcement, a very lovely tea with Dr. Herman Mashaba.
But it's not the same thing. You know, you didn't say, guys, I'm leaving. Other opportunities is so vague, it's so broad. It's not I'm going to one of the opposition parties in the country.
Look, at that stage, that decision was not made. Okay. I was looking at a role within an NGO that looks at primarily issues of good governance, transparency, and putting the executive or holding them to account for what they should be doing. So I was looking primarily into that, and the announcement triggered lots of interesting offers. Private sector, some international as well. So it was quite important for me to reflect, and subsequent to having a conversation with Dr. Mashaba, it was clear that we are potential suitors, or the best suitors in this case, and had to work together.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like a bad position to find yourself in. So you've got all of these lucrative positions, I'm assuming, in the private sector sitting on your table. You're thinking about, should I be more in the NGO space? Why would you want to stay in politics? And what is it about politics? I'm going to get to ActionSA in a moment. Yeah. But what is it about politics that you think makes it the best platform for you to be able to realize whatever your dreams and your potential are?
Politics is directly responsible for shaping the reality we have today, for the infrastructure we have today, or for the lack thereof of infrastructure. It's human beings who make a decision, some with the political will, some with the will to steal. So what we experience today as a reality is a consequence of politics directly. So for me to be able to change my society as I've done in Midvaal, it's important to do so within a political formation. So politics is very important.
It's difficult for me to imagine a scenario where, in the instance of Musimamani leaving the DA, Herman Mashaba leaving the DA, that there were not any conversations that took place with you as well about how long you were actually going to be staying in the DA, and if in fact leaving was an option. At which point did you actively begin this conversation?
We started this conversation immediately when Dr. Mashaba set up ActionSA. And I was clear, and I still believe I had made the right decision to finish what I started. And I think it would have disrupted the work that we were doing in Midvaal and disrupted government and created an unstable environment. And I didn't want my legacy to go into shambles. So it was quite important for me not to disappoint the voters of Midvaal by saying I'm going to do one thing and then leave halfway. So it's a discussion that took place then, in which I did not agree to doing that. And advance the reasoning that I wanted to complete, but I will talk after when I've completed my term and ensure that I've done what I can and deliver to the people of Midvaal. And subsequent to that, there was then various conversations, even after my announcement of departing the Democratic Alliance, which have led us to the point we are today.
What do you think makes ActionSA a better vehicle than the DA, in as far as your political ambitions are concerned, number one? Number two, in the realistic prospects of bringing better governance to this country?
Look, I think if you look at the outcome of the elections recently, with ActionSA being almost a year old and being the sixth biggest party in the country, with just the votes that they got from the municipalities that they contested in, that tells you something fundamentally important about this party. This party is going to remain relevant in the center of South African politics for the foreseeable future. Dr. Mashaba has built a vehicle for all South Africans, is reaching out to all South Africans. What's different about it is there's a very different feel in the party. People are enthused, people are excited, people are across from all walks of life. The last time I got into a political space and found 60% of people who are new people who are from the private sector was very long ago. And this is what you experience from ActionSA. And secondly, the vehicle is unencumbered, doesn't have any baggage of the history. This leader said that, this leader did this leader left, and all these things that make it difficult. And I think it's public knowledge that black leaders in the DA have a difficulty there because of all these things surrounding the DA. It makes it really difficult because, one, you must prove to black people that you are not a token. Number two, there's a natural distrust. Number three, it's fueled by careless statements that's made about black people, whether they're experiments, whether they're anything else. So I think those things are things that are going to weigh down the Democratic Alliance, and also the forever question about the existential question that cripples or trips them along the way, which includes race, which includes redress, which includes social justice as well. So I'm speaking now as a former member, but also equally as a member who sees, as an ActionSA member who sees the Democratic Alliance as an opponent. So they've got significant weaknesses that is going to cripple them without anyone doing anything in that regard. Now, what is ActionSA going to do differently? ActionSA has demonstrated, as you have seen, the ability to be able to pull other smaller parties to form a coalition government. Now, in the city of Johannesburg, the ANC is out of that government, Eguruleni and city of Tshwane, with the good work and all of the other parties, but primarily I think ActionSA has played a very key and fundamental role. Going forward, it is clear that no one is going to win outright. So you need a party where people are comfortable to get into that space, where people really want that party because of its pragmatic ideas and approach in resolving the challenges that South Africans are wanting to resolve.
The issues that black leaders within the DA face, I think, have been well publicized over the years. There have been a lot of voices that have, spoken along similar lines. These weaknesses are not new, and these are weaknesses that in some ways you may have defended in the past.
I've been on public records on significant time speaking about redress, speaking out against what I believe were unjustified statements about referring to black people as tokens or as experiments. So my record in that case is public, and I really tried to change it from internally. And it was important for me to be a responsible person by how I live, because I found that institution alive. It's not for me to destroy that institution as I exit. So I had to ensure that I take due care as I leave that institution. I've got colleagues in the institution and friends in that institution who remain behind, and my path is in the future. So I'm not a person who throws stones when you've left in a particular situation, but I'm squarely focused on the future. Those things happened in the past, and also I spoke out in this public record of me speaking out against all of those things.
What does the future look like for Bongani Baloyi?
Green. The future looks very green.
You know what they say, it's not always green on the other side.
Look, ActionSA is like a patty in our hands. It's for us to shape it. It's got a long way ahead. We're completely alive to that reality of where we are today and where we need to be in 2024 to be able to meet the future head on and be able to shape the future as best as possible, and to ensure that we are the center of the biggest decisions that happen in our country.
Does it concern you when you see leaders such as Makosi Khoza, who was instrumental to this party's campaign in eThekwini, now leaving the party? We've seen recently again protests by members of ActionSA. Your leader, of course, calls them former members, who have been raising a list of grievances against the party. It's a year-old party, and you know these things can be very fragile spaces to be in, and one wonders, is this party going to be able to hold when a year in? They're already the kind of contestations that we're seeing around leadership, around whose voice is allowed to prevail above whose.
When those things happen, what do you look for as a voter? You look for the internal mechanisms to be able to adjudicate and deal with those things in a very transparent and fair and just manner. So I think it's a good test for ActionSA and for the leadership to be able to display those things. I think the issue of the members in Soweto has been dealt with. Those are former members of ActionSA, and as according to the reasons just advanced, it is normal. In fact, the leadership of ActionSA has to take due care to protect this institution, because it will be attacked from very different angles at a very fundamental or very, what's the word, very fragile stage of this institution. So I think the leadership must take due care, but also invest in systems and processes to adjudicate over disputes.
Bongani Baloyi, let's leave it there for tonight. As you heard there, he says his future is very green. Former Midvaal mayor.